Welcome, everyone. It's February 17th, 2026, and we are right in the middle of a story that is unfolding as we speak. A single decision made by India could be the domino that sets off a brand new crisis in the Middle East. So today, we're going to break down what's happening and what it means for all of us. So let's go back just a little bit. On February 6th, India, a country that has had deep historic ties to Iran for ages, made a move that just sent a massive shockwave across the entire region. And that right there is the central mystery we're diving into. This wasn't just some routine inspection. Oh no, this was a very deliberate, very high-stakes move. So the big question is, why on earth did they do it? To really get our heads around the why, we've got to start with the what. We need to look at what exactly went down because the details of this seizure, they're absolutely critical to understanding the whole picture. Okay, so you have the Indian Coast Guard intercepting these three very specific U.S.-sanctioned ships. But look at where this happened. 100 nautical miles west of Mumbai. That is way out in international waters. Now, what that means is, under normal maritime law, India had zero legal right to do this. And yet they did. And they used some pretty sophisticated surveillance to pinpoint these exact ships. This was anything but random. And this number really tells you everything you need to know about the scale of this thing. 55. That's how many ships, plus a dozen or so aircraft, India has now deployed for 24/7 surveillance. The analysis from our sources is crystal clear. This isn't just customs enforcement. This is a military-grade operation. For all intents and purposes, what we're looking at here is a naval blockade. So it all brings us back to that big question. Why would India take such a drastic and, let's be honest, legally questionable step? Well, to answer that, we have to rewind the clock just a few weeks to a threat that basically put the country in an impossible situation. And there it is, the ultimatum. On January 13th, former President Trump just laid it all out there on Truth Social. This wasn't some polite suggestion in diplomatic channels. It was a choice. A really stark choice. You can do business with Iran or you can do business with the United States. You can't do both without getting hit by crippling financial penalties. And this slide just lays out the brutal, simple math that India was staring down. You've got $1.6 billion a year in trade with Iran versus a whopping $120 billion trade relationship with the US. You see, a 25% tariff on that American trade wouldn't just be painful, it would be a potential wrecking ball to India's entire export-driven economy. The choice, while incredibly tough, was pretty much already made for them by the numbers. And the fallout didn't stop with seizing a few ships. India was also forced to abandon one of its crown jewel geopolitical projects, the Chabahar port in Iran. This was a massive, decade-long investment. It was supposed to be India's golden ticket, a strategic trade route to Central Asia that completely bypassed the rival Pakistan. And just like that, it was gone. I mean, just look at how fast this all happened. January 13th, the threat is made. By February 1st, India has already pulled all the funding for its key strategic port. 5 days after that, it seizes the tankers. And then, boom, just 2 days later, the US drops the tariff threat and even signs a new trade deal. The source analysis nailed it when they called this panic, not planning. It was a total capitulation. Basically, a transaction where India proved it would fall in line and was immediately rewarded for it. Now, it's really important to understand that what India was forced to do, this isn't some one-off event. It's the blueprint. It's the playbook for a whole new kind of global strategy, an economic siege, really, designed to systematically choke off Iran's financial lifeline without ever firing a single shot. And the number one target of this strategy is what's known as the shadow fleet. It's pretty much what it sounds like. It's Iran's secret off-the-books network for shipping its oil around the world, getting around all those long-standing U.S. sanctions, the sanctions tied to its nuclear program and other activities. It's a really sophisticated ghost operation, using every trick in the book to cover its tracks. And we are not talking about a small operation here. According to the group United Against Nuclear Iran, this fleet is made up of 542 vessels. That's the network that this new U.S. strategy is designed to take apart, one ship at a time. So how does it actually work? Well, you can think of it as a blockade by bureaucracy. First, you hit a key trading partner with that tariff threat, just like with India.
That forces them to start seizing these shadow fleet ships to show they're on your side. At the same time, you put the squeeze on countries like Panama, where these ships are registered, to basically cancel their flags, making them illegal to operate. The endgame? Make it physically and legally impossible for Iran to export its oil.
And we are already seeing this playbook working all over the world. India seizes the tankers, Turkey is suddenly getting cold feet about a gas contract that's been in place for decades. The UAE, a huge customer for Iranian oil, just can't take the risk of US tariffs. And you can bet that other countries in Asia are going to make the exact same calculation India did. This pattern of global isolation is forming, and it's forming fast.
All of this pressure from the outside is having a truly devastating effect inside Iran. The country is now locked in a desperate race against time as all these different crises are starting to pile up on top of each other, creating an incredibly dangerous and volatile situation.
And these numbers, they really show a country that is on the absolute brink. I mean, the currency is in total free fall. The cost of food is just crushing ordinary people. The regime's crackdown on protesters has been horrifically brutal. And now we're even seeing signs that the system is rotting from the inside. Insiders are reportedly getting their money out of the country, and the morale of the Revolutionary Guard is said to be crumbling. The whole thing is fracturing. And here's the thing, all of this is coming to a head right now. As in this very moment, a second U.S. aircraft carrier is due to arrive in a matter of days. India has a hard deadline of April 26th to get completely out of that Iranian port. You have military, economic, and diplomatic deadlines all crashing together over the next 2 months. It's creating a window of absolutely maximum pressure. Now, you might be thinking, well, can't they just talk their way out of this? The problem is that path seems to be completely blocked. The U.S. wants to talk about everything, but Iran has said publicly they will only discuss their nuclear program. And with diplomacy essentially off the table, the risk of a miscalculation, the risk of this thing spiraling into a real conflict, it just grows every single day. So what this all comes down to is this. We're watching a massive, high-stakes gamble play out in real time. The bet is that you can squeeze Iran's economy so hard and so fast that the regime itself will just break from the inside. But the huge, terrifying question that nobody can answer is this. Will that collapse happen before a cornered, desperate Iran decides to lash out and trigger a devastating war? India's actions on February 6th showed us that the siege has begun. Now the entire world is holding its breath to see how it ends.